I unlocked the front door of our family home in Ashland, Pennsylvania, on that freezing December evening in 1979. And before I could even take off my coat, my mother collapsed into my arms. She was a shell of herself, completely unraveled, screaming the same 3 words over and over. "Christine is dead. Christine is dead. Christine is dead." For 40 years, that scream echoed through the halls of justice, a haunting reminder of a girl who never made it home from her secretarial class. We were so close to the finish line, so close to finally seeing her handcuffs click shut for good. But then came the free fall. It wasn't just a setback. It was a total collapse of everything we thought we knew about the truth. Look at this file, Jack. It's yellowed at the edges, smelling of stale Pall Mall cigarettes and that damp basement air of a 1970s precinct. December 18th, 1979. The Junker family lived in a modest house near the tracks where the father, Waldefried, worked as a switchman for the railroad. Christine was the eldest, a girl just weeks away from her 16th birthday. She was the tough one, the manager of the siblings, the kind of girl who managed everything for her younger brother while they played in the overgrown gardens of their youth. She was the girl every boy in the neighborhood noticed, not just because she was beautiful, but because she was genuinely the kindest person you could imagine meeting in a town like Ashland. But Ashland in the late 70s had a shadow. Christine was growing up, starting to notice boys, experiencing those first innocent flirts that her protective father tried so hard to shield her from. There were arguments, the kind every teenager has, but she still obeyed the rules. That Tuesday was supposed to be normal. A school day, a bit of television, and then a 5:30 walk to her stenography course at the vocational school. She usually walked with a friend, but that night, the friend cancelled. Christine walked alone across the industrial bridge, over the rusted iron of the train tracks, a walk that should have taken 12 minutes. By 8 p.m., when the house remained silent, the panic set in. You can almost hear the frantic ringing of the doorbell in these old reports. The mother running to the neighbors, asking if anyone had seen her. The father calling the station at 8:15 p.m.
I understand the deadlines,
though the official
but the parts
log,
haven't arrived
typed
yet.
on a heavy manual
We can't meet the
typewriter,
quota if we don't have...
lists it as nearly 8:50 p.m. That 30-minute discrepancy? That's the first crack in the foundation. That's the error that would eventually haunt this case for 4 decades. That night, the temperature in Pennsylvania plummeted from 48 degrees down to freezing as a light rain began to slick the streets. While her brother went to bed, telling himself she was just staying over at a friend's house, trying to rationalize the nightmare away, Christine was already gone. The next morning, December 19th, a park ranger making his rounds through the Memorial Park near the old rowing club stumbled upon a scene straight out of a horror film. Scattered near a stone pavilion were a pair of jeans, tights, shoes, and a corduroy bag. The ranger, with that old-school sense of order, actually folded the clothes neatly and laid them under a tree before he noticed the drag marks in the gravel. They led straight to a railing overlooking a 45-foot drop. When he looked over the edge, he saw her. The autopsy report, filed at the county morgue, reads like a grim catalogue of violence. She had been strangled, but the killer wasn't done. He had dragged her unconscious body behind a thicket, stripped her, and when his initial attempt at assault failed, he dragged her to the edge and threw her into the dark. But here is the part that keeps me up at night, Sarah. The evidence suggests the killer returned to the body. He went down those stairs, found her lying there, perhaps still breathing, and struck her repeatedly in the head with a heavy wooden beam until the silence was permanent. Why? Why that level of overkill?
The numbers don't lie, Rob.
The police thought they knew. He did it because she knew his face. And then they found it. A bite mark. A distinct, violent impression left on the girl's breast. In 1979, the pressure on the Ashland PD was suffocating. Every parent in the county was looking at their neighbor with suspicion, and the lead that came in on December 21st pointed directly at a boy named Conrad. He was 17, lived in the same apartment building as the Junkers, and was already known to the cops for petty theft and a hair-trigger temper. This is where the archive gets chilling. We found a statement from an ex-girlfriend of Conrad's, a 14-year-old girl. Just 2 months before Christine was murdered, she went into that same park with Conrad. When she refused his advances, he snapped.
I saw
He
you with
wrapped
him
his
yesterday.
hands around her throat
Don't
and
lie to
started
me.
squeezing.
You think you can make a fool
She
out
barely
of me?
fought him off and escaped. It was the same location, the same escalation, the same modus operandi. But when the detectives looked at the timeline, they hit a wall. A patrolman filed a memo saying he'd seen Conrad walking a mile away from the park, right at the time of the murder. Based on that one typed slip of paper, Conrad walked free. He stayed a neighbor. He played with Christine's brother. He built tree houses in the woods with the very boy whose sister he was suspected of slaughtering. 40 years of silence followed. Christine's father died less than a year later in a tragic accident on the tracks, never knowing the truth. The case went cold, buried under thousands of other files, until 2015. That's when a new breed of investigator, the kind that doesn't believe in unsolvable, pulled the box out of storage. They started reading the file backward, trying to strip away the biases of the past. And they landed right back on page 1, Conrad. By now, Conrad was a 56-year-old pensioner, but the digital age had caught up with him. On his social media, he had posted a childhood photo of himself, standing in the very park where Christine died. The blue ocean of this investigation was the bite mark. They sent the old forensic photos to a renowned expert, Dr. Lindemeyer. She looked at the impressions and compared them to a mold of Conrad's teeth. She found a clear anomaly, a gap where a tooth should have been,
Gentlemen,
a specific dental
these molds
signature
confirm
that she
the
claimed
identity of
matched
our
the
victim
wound on
beyond a
Christine's
reasonable
body
doubt.
with near certain probability. The office erupted in euphoria. They had him. They
Everything
even
seems to
found
be
a
in order
jailhouse
here.
informant,
Good work.
a man who claimed Conrad confessed while awaiting trial. Conrad supposedly told him he'd been riled up because he saw Christine with another boy at the station, that he followed her, confronted her, and then it just happened. In January 2020, 40 years after the rain fell in Ashland, the trial began. Because Conrad was a minor in 1979, the trial was held in a specialized juvenile setting. Actually, a temporary shipping container because the courthouse was under renovation. The expert took the stand. She told the court the chance of anyone else leaving that mark was
You must
next to
believe
zero.
me. If I hadn't
The family
acted when
sat there, finally feeling the weight lift. But then, the defense did something brilliant and devastating. They produced a dental record from 2012. You see, the expert's entire theory was based on the idea that Conrad's missing tooth was a genetic
Mr. Henderson,
anomaly,
these
something he was
discrepancies
born
in the
with,
accounts must be
meaning he
addressed
would have had that
immediately.
same gap in
Did you authorize the-
1979. But the 2012 record proved the tooth had been there. It had been pulled by a dentist just 8 years prior. The courtroom went dead silent. In an instant, the perfect evidence became worthless. The judge didn't just dismiss the expert.
It was never about
He
the
called the
money.
findings, quote,
We believed in
11,
something
quote,
big.
and, quote, 12, quote. The second expert they brought in could only call
That
it
is
a, quote,
quite enough from you,
13,
sir.
quote, toss-up. The high-tech, modern forensic victory collapsed into a pile of bureaucratic dust. Conrad was acquitted. The judge used a phrase that still stings the Junker family to this day. He said the evidence didn't remotely justify a conviction. Conrad walked out of that shipping container a free man. He went back to his life, back to the shadows of the town he'd never really left. And then, in September 2025, the story reached its final, unsatisfying end. Neighbours reported that Conrad had passed away 5 years after his acquittal. He took whatever secrets he had to the grave. So, what are we left with in this declassified history? We have a brother who lives his life for two people, carrying the memory of a 15-year-old girl who never got to grow up. We have a police department that learned the hard way that euphoria is the enemy of justice. And we have the chilling realization that sometimes the shadow next door is exactly who you think it is. But a 30-minute error on a typed memo and a mistaken tooth are enough to let the devil walk free. As we close this file from the Ashland archives, the question remains, is the law designed to find the truth, or is it just designed to follow the protocol? Because in the case of Christine Juncker, the protocol gave a killer 45 years of life that he stole from a girl in the rain.